guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm gonna do two videos talking about the threads and the tools used for making velvet flowers. I know these are not the typical videos on this channel, but I think some of you might need these. Today we're gonna talk about threads first. The silk threads used for making Ronghua can be classified into 4 categories, which include at least 8 different threads. The first category is mulberry silk embroidery threads. In this category, we're going to talk about the 2 classic embroidery threads and 1 velvet flower specific thread. The first embroidery thread is what you are looking at in the camera. So these are the Sioux embroidery threads, which is also the one that you guys can find pretty much everywhere. I know in the US, you can definitely find it on Amazon. They are usually sold in skeins like these, or bundles. So basically they take out some small skeins from each large skein and put them together. I think that's how they do it on Amazon here. As you can see that each large skein has these small skeins, and each large one has 18 to 20 skeins, I believe. When you use these, you take a small skein and put it on the stick. For each inch of silk width, you are going to need 2.5 skeins of these, the small skeins. Like what we talked about before, these threads have 2 strands twisted together. So before brushing, we need to separate the strands, which takes forever because like what you have seen, these are pretty thin. Other than that, they are pretty cool, easy to handle and brush. The end work looks pretty too. The second embroidery thread is about 6 times thicker than the first one, and it's called Xiang embroidery thread. I'm not sure if we can find these outside of China. I tried to find these in the US here, but didn't have luck. These threads also have 2 strands twisted together. I'll just take one and show you guys. So the strands are very easy to find, see? Also, these are thicker, so if we want to use the same amount of silk, it's going to take a lot less time to separate the strands. That's why they are more convenient to use. They are usually sold by large skeins, and the large skeins come in one piece. They don't have small skeins like the Sioux embroidery threads. Personally, I really like these threads. They are one of my favorite threads. Roughly 1/3 of the threads I own are this type. However, they do have problems. The biggest issue is that they have a lot of silk filaments combined together. So when we brush, it's really difficult to brush open all the silk filaments. For that reason, it's hard to make good looking chubby furry designs. So you can only use these to make flattened petals or furry petals combined with thin strips. Also, both of these embroidery threads have the same problem, which is that they are not manufactured to make velvet flowers. So sometimes they are not twisted the way we like. We occasionally get those overly twisted threads, which doesn't affect embroidery, but are unusable for making velvet flowers. You may want to ask, these threads are not so good to use, why do you still use them? Well, because they have thousands of colors, pretty much every color you possibly need. These are the only 2 easy to find threads on the market with so many color selections. That's why we need a thread that's made for velvet flowers. It looks just like the Sioux embroidery threads, but it doesn't have 2 strands combined together. So it's like you can enjoy the benefits of Sioux embroidery threads without any hassle of spending time to separate the strands. But the issue is that the production process of these threads is not standardized. Those manufacturers don't make velvet flowers themselves, obviously, so they don't know what we truly need. That's the reason why we get all kinds of weird threads that don't work on the market. Don't get me wrong, some are really good. You just have to try your luck. It works for some crafters because if you get those good ones, those threads are really easy to use and they have relatively more color selections too. Personally, I don't try my luck. I need stability in the threads I use, so I only have 1 hanger of these. I know it's still a lot, but I've been doing this for years, and my Ronghua skills pretty much grew up along with the thread's development. The second category only have 1 thread, which is the non-twisted thread. I hope you guys can see that from the camera. I think you can. A lot of brushing issues we have are caused by the twists in the threads. So these threads are super easy to brush and very newbie friendly because they don't have twists. My first fairly good looking furry flower was made with this type of threads. I think it was the third batch of flowers that I made. Okay, here comes the issue of these threads. The biggest one is hard to handle. They don't have twists, so if your hands are not smooth a teensy bit, they're gonna snag the threads. If you have a rock on your ring, it's gonna do the same thing. So take it off before handling the threads. That's why I wear a band. Also, because they don't have twists, it's difficult for you to tell where the strands are. You can somehow tell, but not that clear. So it's hard for you to decide how much you should take and put on the stick. In addition to that, the manufacturers did some special treatment to them, so they are not as poofy as the embroidery silk threads. But regardless these downsides, non-twisted silk makes good looking and work. I actually have a good amount of these on hand, but I don't sell them because I don't want you guys to hate me. However, if you are interested, let me know. When you place an order, I put some in your package to try out. So these two categories are like going from one extreme to the other. The third category stays somewhere in the middle. They are only slightly twisted, so they are easy to handle without affecting the experience of the flower making. This category has many different threads because different manufacturers are trying to come up with their own ideas, but all of them have the same concept. I have used 3 of these. The first one is like the modified Xiang embroidery thread. It has 2 strands twisted together, loosely twisted together, and they need to be separated before brushing. But the filaments in these strands are pre-processed, so they are easy to brush and won't affect the look of furry flowers. They're thicker, so let's work on hanging them on the stick. Also, the twists in the threads are tighter, so even if your hands are not perfectly smooth, you want to tangle the threads. The second type is like slightly twisted and non-twisted silk, but easier to handle and poofier. This is the thread in all of our beginners kits. These 2 types of threads and the non-twisted silk can be used together because they are so similar in nature. When you use these, you just pull out a couple and put them on the stick. For each inch, you are going to need 15 strands of these. But the problem of this category is that the color selection is very limited. They mostly only come in white. So someone needs to dye them. So all of our threads are either white or hand dyed. The third one that I have used is very similar to the second one, so I'm not going to spend time talking about that. The last category is unprocessed silk, which looks like this. Silk like this is often used to make silk fabric. They can have different thicknesses and twists. I think the one used for making velvet flowers is the thinnest one with the least twists. This is the best material to make velvet flowers, but the least convenient. It also comes in white mostly and it needs to be hand dyed, or custom dyed if you run a big workshop. The old velvet flowers were all made with silk similar to this. All of the current professionals use this type of silk too, but do I recommend these? Well, unless you are trying to be absolute professionals. I'll show you guys how complicated it is to use it in a future video. So this is everything we have for this video. In our next one, we're going to talk about tools. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys found this video helpful. I'll see you guys in our next one.